Welcome to another video where I'll be doing some carving on a piece of linoleum which is mounted to a piece of birch plywood, and I have a non-slip pad underneath it. Been working on this here and there. This is an image from a Book of Hours, which is from the 15th century, I believe, and it was from the cover page, and it's this small little area that's down here. And this book is very small. It's probably about half the size. So it's probably about the size of half of an 8.5 by 11. But I was interested in these little carvings. I'm not sure if they're wood blocks or if they're metal cuts. They might be metal cuts with all these little dots. I'm not really sure. And the edges of these lines, when you blow them up, as you can see here, the edges of the lines are very rough. They're not smooth at all. So I'm not sure if this is a woodblock print or a metal cut or some sort of engraving. I'm not quite sure. There'll be more information on this image after it's finished and I finally print it. But for now, I just want to focus on some carving. And I thought this was a good opportunity to maybe carve some of these lines and just talk about my tools that I'm using and the techniques that I'm using while I'm carving. So if you're interested in carving, this applies. I'm carving linoleum at the moment, but this applies also to woodblock carving. So if you're carving on a piece of Sheena or Sheena plywood or cherry wood, the same techniques apply to all those different materials. So I'm just gonna get started, and I think I'm just gonna continue with where I left off, which is in the face of this back end of this dragon figure. It turns into, looks like an elephant or something, but it kind of has like a beak of an eagle kind of. So that hole there looks like the nose of an eagle. But it's a very interesting beast. So I think I'll zoom in and we'll just start carving some of these line sections. And before we do that, I just want to talk about some of these stones that I'm using. This is an ultra sharp 2200 grit diamond stone. This is where I do most of my sharpening. And I also have here a DMT Diasharp, which is extra fine. This is 8000 mesh, made in the USA. And this is very smooth. This is for polishing your tool. But I'm using the traditional hangito, which is the Japanese wood carving knife. And this is for your right hand. You carve over your hand like this. I also hold it like a pencil sometimes, or I hold it like this in between my fingers and I carve this way. But I thought we could maybe start with just putting a little edge, a clean edge on this. So again, I put that non-slip pad down. I thought we could maybe just get a nice little edge on this one. It's getting a little dull. So I usually put down a little bit of lapping fluid. It's a diamond abrasive lapping fluid. And that just makes it a little bit easier to cut on the stone. So I usually just put that on, smooth it out a little, and always have a towel on hand. And this already has a nice bevel. I kind of just rock the tool into place, and I'll draw it back, clean it off. I'm just gonna look and see if everything's going smoothly. Once I'm on the bevel, I can just go back and forth. And I'm putting pressure down with my finger. And every once in a while, you just clean it off and you just have a look. When you're really good at this, you can just do it with one hand and you can just kind of, but I'm not the best sharpener. And I'm really gonna try to get better at it. So I use two hands. I'm just moving that blade across the surface. And I'm putting almost a new bevel on it, so I gotta be careful. So yeah, I'm kind of rounding it. So I'm not doing a very good job at showing you. So right now I have kind of two bevels going on. I don't know if you can see that in the light, but I have a bevel that's in the front. So I didn't do a very good job at keeping this flat. So what I could do is you could go to a more abrasive stone. But I'm just going to keep working on this stone for now. When you feel you have a little burr on the back of your tool, then you just kind of flatten the tool. And you get the back side, the flat side of the tool. And now for what I'm doing, this is definitely sharp enough. So just clean that off. And then you can move to this 8000 mesh. Just like a polishing stone. Yeah, I rolled my tool when I was sharpening. See, this is where sharpening really takes practice, and now it's like rounded. And I can see I don't have a good flat bevel. So same thing. Then come here, do the back side. Flat side. And then I just do one pass. I just angle my tool slightly on the back side. Just a gentle one pass. Sometimes I take a leather, this is like a leather mounted on a piece of plywood. They call it a strop. If you want to put a little bit of a finish on your blade, a polish, you can run over this a few times. Same thing, I'll do the flat side. Just do one slight angle pass. And that's sharp enough for me for now. So let's get to some carving. So we're going to carve around this. Let's zoom in a little here. I'm going to carve around this little shape here. And then we have a positive shape. We're not going inside the shape. We're just carving out the outside. I tend to just go right around the perimeter. And I always come back right away and I clear that cut. I'm going to be rotating my block a little bit. And I just work my way around this shape. Clearing the material away as I go. You can see there's a tiny little piece. So I'm just going to link one cut into that. I'm actually sitting at a table. I usually stand when I carve, so this is a different feeling for me right now. So we just carved around that little shape. All right. So I was thinking we could do these lines here. So I already cleared some relief area around the lines. Let's just start here on this end. And I'm just going to cut one side of these lines at first. Just do 5 or so. Then I'll turn my block around, and I'm just going to cut those away. I'm not going too deep, but this is just creating a little bit of a relief. And I started with this one here. Now I'm going to cut the second side of this line for each one. And it has like a tapered finish to the line. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Let's see if I can zoom in. Yeah, I can zoom in even more. See if I can focus. All right. I'm going to start on the next section of lines. So again, I'm just going to do one side. And I'm going to rotate this around. And I'm going to cut that line away. I'm actually going to go to the edge of this second line. that's about it for that section of lines. I usually use, for something that's this small and detailed, I usually use some magnifying lenses. So I'll come back after the video here and I'll double check that I've trimmed close enough to the edges of these lines. It's hard to do on camera. I was thinking this area here where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 squares, 6 or 7 squares, and then 3 squares. How would we cut this pattern? So it was bothering me that I didn't get the right bevel on my tool here. So I'm going to do it again, and you can see it's just not flat. It's a little bit rounded. There's like 2 bevels. So I'm going to start here again on a 1000 mesh stone. Same way we did it before, but we're going to get this bevel nice and flat. We're going to do it the right way. I haven't done this in a while. And if you don't do it on a regular basis, sometimes you lose the technique. I'm using the 1000 mesh because we're going to have to take a little bit of material off here. And a good trick is to just darken your bevel, the edge that you're cutting, and with a Sharpie, and then just take a drawback and you can see where that just cut. So it's kind of back here. So we want this to be a little bit more even. You can see again, cutting off the front. There's just a little bit more black in the back there. So just keep going. Well, that's a nice flat bevel. I didn't connect back to the old bevel because I made it a little bit steeper of an angle, but that's okay. I don't need to be back there. I'm more concerned with just this front bevel. There's a little bit of a burr on this tool. So what you can do is now on the flat side, just take one pass, couple passes, and that should clean off that burr. You can also just cut it in a piece of wood. Just have the back of this plywood. You could just take just kind of cut this through the wood, and that should clean off that burr. So now that we're done with the 1000 stone, let's get on with our next stone, which is the one we started with last time. And this is the 2200 mesh. So we're going to make sure, I'm going to start again with the Sharpie so you can visually see what we're doing here. So we start with the bevel black. And because this tool is so small, there's not much of a... Yeah, so we are on the right track, because you can see we've already taken off all that Sharpie. But because this is so small, I mean, you can see it's just a portion of a tip of a fingernail. It's easy to move. It's easy to rock. Get a rounded bevel. See, I can see I already started another bevel again. See, I'm not very good at keeping the tool flat. This takes practice, but once you get good at it, it's a skill that requires practice. So that's better now. Got back on track there. So that's a nice, clean bevel up front. Again, we're going to take it to the back surface a couple times. And now we'll take it to the 8000 mesh stone. And this is the polishing stone. Just need a little bit of this stuff. A little bit goes a long way here. And again, start with our Sharpie so we can see. We'll let that dry. Now I'm just going to angle the tool slightly. Just do a light. And that just puts a little back cut on this flat edge. It just makes it an extra razor sharp right at the tip there. And now if you want the razor sharp finish, you go right to the strop, which I have this piece of hard leather glued down to a piece of plywood. And this is like a jeweler's rouge. It's like it's like a polishing. And I'm just going to take 2 swipes on the front. Little on the back. Clean off this surface. The other thing is sometimes you can take a the stone here. Sometimes if you want that tip a little bit stronger, you could just bring it back on the stone a few times. And that just puts a little bit of an edge on the front of your tool. And it just makes the tip of it a little bit stronger. Now this tool is ready. So that's more of a proper sharpening than the first one I did on camera. I wasn't happy with that one. So let's get back to our block. Where were we? We're gonna do this little hatched area here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces in this row. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. So the way I would treat this, I would actually just go around the perimeter of it first. Oh, this is cutting so much more sharply and clean. Such a difference when you have a proper bevel and proper sharpening of your tool. So I'm just going to go around the perimeter of these shapes, just kind of grouping them as one unit. This is the last piece there. There's a little tiny piece here, which I'll keep a little portion of it. This is the top section. Do I have auto? I don't think so. So I like to, after my cut, like say this cut here, cutting through, finishing through, I like to see how that's raised up. I like to just clear this away with the back cut and just get rid of that altogether. And now I know that's finished. I can also sometimes I'll come back in here and just clean up this wasted area, this negative area. Sometimes I'll just clean it, and I just kind of clean and take care of these zones as I go along. So I'll just switch to a small bullnose chisel, and I'll just pop out these little chunks. And this is the same way I carve on any kind of wood block. So I treat this linoleum the same way I treat cherry wood. So now that I have the shape carved around the edge of all these little pieces, I'd go through and I would just cut through in a line. Same thing, just hitting all the edges of these shapes. It doesn't have to be exact. Come through and clear that line. Just where the edge of the line hits those shapes. And they're all different. They're all irregular shapes. They're not quite square. It's pretty rough. Then I'd come back and do this other side. I have to be careful. My paper's pulling up in that one section. So I don't want the paper, the Gampi paper, to peel up. This glue down of this transfer sheet, I didn't use enough glue. And so in certain areas, the paper wants to lift up. So I have to be very careful, especially when I clear the debris or the waste with my hand. I don't want to wipe the paper off. And then I just kind of cut into it. I can cut into these shapes now. Get their precise carving along the edges. Carve in the character of the shapes as I'm going along here. And I use this finger as a guide, so I have a lot of control with where the edge of my tool is going. So now I have these two like channels carved through. Now I can just work on every individual shape. So like this first one here, it's very small. So I can just come in here, make a cut, back cut, and now that shape is finished. Same thing here, cut this one, back cut, and I could cut down the bottom portion. And you're leaving a little pyramid. I'm looking at this one here. There's a little pyramid, and right at the top is the surface that's going to be printed. So these are two that are very small areas, but there's a nice base or a pyramid of material building up to it, so there's some strength there. So I can just come do all these top edges for this row first. And then I can flip it around, do the bottoms of these shapes. So this row now is complete. You can see all those little pyramids. So we'll do the same thing with this last row. Again, there's a very small dot. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. We'll keep that in there. And there we go. Now we have all those little pieces. So you don't want to carve every single one around. You can just do it in these long strokes, have a nice like channel or like a gutter system of negative space to work in. And then you kind of come through and just work them all as a unit, work them all as a group. And then you can get more carving, more efficient carving that way. a lot of little tiny specks of material, and when you're doing a reproduction like this, you just have to kind of pick and choose, and edit as you go along, what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep. You don't have to be, this is already blown up to such a large scale. This is just a fun little carving exercise. I like this. Never carved anything from this time period, like 15th century. I'm just doing it as like a historical reference. We have a similar pattern over here, and we also have some more lines. So what should we do next? Maybe we can do these curved lines in this area here. See this line here, it's a little irregular, and it's got some quality to it. So I'll just do it in one go, and I'm just kind of wiggling my tool. That's why I like to hold my tool like this, because I can wiggle it like a pencil, back and forth, back and forth. And then this finger, just pushing it along. See, I can just make that edge. And I can raise my tool up and down as I go to get into tighter corners. I just have a lot of control. I have like a three fingers of control on the tool at all times. And then when I come back, just clear away what I just carved. A nice back cut. And there we are. There's our first line. And when I finish at the end of the line, I don't just stop. I follow all the way through. Keep going through the material. Go all the way to there if you'd like. This line is broken. And this line is broken as well. So then when you come back, you start away from the line and you end right where you started. You see that. So I'm starting past the line, just clearing that cut. So that's one edge of the line that I started. Let's just clear out this little area here. So I have a negative or a gutter space to work into. So I'm just cutting into that gutter, and then I can do a back cut. Boom. Now these broken lines, you can kind of carve these as you go along here. By just wiggling your tool. And that completes that section with just those 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of broken lines. So then we'll come back. I'll just make this groove a little bit deeper here. And come over here, I'll do the same. And then I'll just come in with my little bone nose chisel and just clear it. That's it. And that's it. So now we have 2 line sections, this checkered pattern cleared. We just keep going along. You can see over here, my paper, my design has peeled up. But luckily I already finished that area, so I know it's done. So we have lots of little holes on this design, as you can see, and I've been cutting them all mostly with just the knife. So same idea. Let's take a row of dots and we'll do these holes. You could get a little, I have a little U-gouge, it's tiny. You could use the U-gouge for some of them that are larger and just kind of work the edge of the gouge and then come back at another angle and kind of pop it out. But it doesn't have a very nice quality. It looks kind of, I don't know, it looks round. I like these holes, each have their own little quality and little character. So what I like to do is I like to do 2 sides. I'll get the bottom and the right side of each one. They're almost like squares, like a couple round little areas, squares with like round corners. And some of them are larger and smaller. Let's just do this row here. So I'm doing the bottom and the right side of each one. There's a little hole here. Do the bottom and right of it. I'll flip my block. And now I'll do the bottom and right side of this, which is actually the top and the left. So then I'm utilizing my time and the curve, rotating the block. Each one is just a little different character, and I just have more control with this tool, or the knife. So that row is now complete. So again, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did 6 there, and if I were to do each hole one by one, I'd be rotating, losing the block. Okay, that's 1. So it just takes so much time. So you want to go try to figure out how to do it fast, more efficiently. So just think about that when you're carving. So again, I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. This one is very small. I can keep track of what I'm doing. You break it into groups. Just complete small sections at a time. And slowly and methodically you get this block complete. So there goes 5. Then we have a row here while it's curved, or while the block is curved at this angle. I could say, okay, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to do these 6 right here. So you can see a little better. Boom. Rotate the block. Boom, there's 6. So how many do we have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are kind of just random. All very random shaped. Boom. One more. There's a tiny one here by itself. Yeah, so now that whole section of holes is complete. So we did all these little patterns and textures in this back leg, or maybe it's the ear of this elephant, or it's the back leg of this dragon looking creature. So where do you want to go next? Could do the eyeball. So with this eyeball, for interesting shape, it's mostly a circle with a couple lines coming off it. So again, for this, I would just go around the whole perimeter first. And as I go around, I'm cutting through the material past my line. Make a little stop cut. And then just do back. So now I have this, I have a channel, little groove that I could start my tool in. The edge of that, and I'll just link it into the eyeball here. And then I'll come out into this material, stop cut, back clean. Again, start in the hole or the gutter, follow the line, pass the line into the wasted area and follow through. So I'm cutting through and I'm cutting past. And this edge or point of the line, I'm just going to start there. Here I'm going back into a valley. Boom, I have to stop right there. So when I stop, I bring my tool up and then make sure I stop right there. And I can start exactly right where I left off. Come through. So from the point of this line connected to the bottom of this eye, so there's this V here now. So I'll start that right here in the corner of the V. Come out, and then here I can start here at the front. Go right back. And then take that material out. There's still a little triangle here. I just finished that off with my knife. That's gone. So we have 2 lines here. First we have another little triangle. It kind of comes into the eye, corner of the eye. Just get rid of that. Another little line here. And same thing with when I start my cuts. I don't start the cuts. If there's extra room out here, I'll start way out here, bring it in, and then I'm getting it on track. Connect it right into the area that I want to be clearing or cutting. So now I have this big triangle here of waste material, which I'm just going to deepen around the perimeter one time, and then my bullnose chisel. I'm just going to go right up the middle, pop that out. Super easy. That's why linoleum is easier to carve than wood. So I always recommend people trying this first on linoleum because the material is much easier to cut. There's no grain to worry about. It's all uniform. And it's just a nice entry-level material to work with. it doesn't dull your tools any more or less than the wood blocks. So again, I'm just deepening this perimeter of this piece that needs to go away. And then again, this will be a nice little channel. So I'm putting this bullnose chisel down, and then I'm just lifting it up, and it's just breaking off the material because I carved around the perimeter at a nice depth. And it just comes out real easy. You don't have to go that deep. It's probably going down about 1/8 of an inch in these deeper open areas. There's another section here that I can clear. So we're moving along. So this is a longer format video where I'm just carving and talking to you. I don't have any specific goal. I just wanted to show you and talk to you about how I work. So you're just sitting here watching me work. I'm not sure if you are interested in this kind of video, but I feel like it's valuable for people who are interested in getting into printmaking. They can see me live, or they can see me working, and they can apply my techniques to their projects. So let's finish this eye. The interior of his eye. I don't have to go as deep here because it's a small area. And like this part, I want to break it up into 2 sections. I'm going to break it up into this top section as a triangle. Like so. And then I'm going to continue this part around the bottom, around the pupil, as a separate section. So carving circles, let me get a piece of paper and draw this for you, because this is an interesting concept. So if you have a circle, let me grab a pencil. So if you have a circle, so this is what you have to carve around this shape. So you could carve with your tool around the whole thing and rotate the block as you're going. Say the pencil's my tool, and you could easily kind of make it one continuous line. Or you can go line, back cut, clear. 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 You can go around it this way, clear. And then in the end, now you have this big cleared area, if that makes sense to you. So there's 2 ways to do it. So maybe we can find another area that's similar to what I just explained. So let's look at this little shape here. It's a little triangle. So I could go around, around, around. So I'm gonna start here, start over here. I'm going around that edge of the shape, and then I'm gonna follow through, go past, do a little stop cut. Now I'm just gonna clear that out of the way. Now I can rotate my block. I can continue, go around this little radius, past, clear, past, clear. So now I'm clearing as I'm going along. And you actually have more accuracy that way, I think. You have a nicer curve. So I did that on this line. I stopped at the point where there was a little bit of a bump in the line. There was a little bit of a break in the line. So I just bring it out into my material, clear it. So there's a little point there where I came through, and that just makes a really unique little textural area. All right, so we are moving along. We're getting a lot of carving done today. So I'm about halfway finished. Halfway finished on this block. I'd say the center is right here. And we're essentially halfway done. I have all this to go. But now I have the techniques down, so it's mostly lines, holes, dots, curved lines, some larger shapes. So this should get done pretty quick, but I really enjoy this project, this kind of carving. I think this is a really good sort of image for people to maybe start with. So maybe go on the Met's website and look at the different art from different periods of time. You could search prints, woodblock prints, just find a section or find a pattern of something that you like, that interests you, and just print it out, glue it down, and try to carve it. Something that has some texture, that has some variety, and get started on your own project. In this case, this is something that's really tiny and looks really detailed. When you blow it up to this level, it's really not so bad. It's just carving simple shapes and textures over and over again. But as it builds up as a whole, it's going to be a really nice, unique little image, I think. So thanks for joining me. Hope you like this style of video. It's this long form, watch me work format. So there's not going to be any editing on this. I'm just going to piece it together and publish it, and we'll see how people react and see if people like it. If you're interested in carving, please subscribe to my channel. And if you're interested in printmaking or painting or drawing, or whatever, just subscribe to my channel if you would, and I'd really appreciate that. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.